All journeys must come to an end. And it's time. Hello everyone, PapaKenn here, and welcome to the Series 8 recap video of Discovering Doctor Who. Yes, it has been 8 series, 2 years. I don't know if it's like completely 2 years or maybe just a little bit longer or what, but it's been a long journey, but longer than most, I'm sure, because most people probably marathon through the show to get ready for the 9th series. But I am ready right before the 9th series begins, so I mean, couldn't ask for better timing, except for maybe me getting caught up last year for Series 8, but that's besides the point. So, in today's recap, I'm going to touch on a few different things, possibly answer a few questions you all might have. And actually, I'll go ahead and answer one question that I've been asked quite a few times, which is, am I going to do reactions for all of the Series 9 episodes? And the answer is no. I'm not going to be doing reactions for all the episodes. There's a lot of other videos I'm wanting to work on, and while editing the reactions doesn't take a lot of work, it completely eats up my computer and its processing for things that I want to be doing otherwise. And there's a few other reasons as well. It's like I want to take time to watch and do other things. So I will not be doing reactions for all the episodes. However, I will be doing a reaction for the first episode and a reaction for the finale episode or episodes, whether it be a 1 or 2-parter. So there's your answer there. I'm sorry if you're a huge fan of the reactions, but it's just, I like doing them to a degree, but almost every single one of them get hit with copyright claims. So it's just getting kind of annoying, and even the upcoming ones will actually be hosted on a separate channel. More information on that to come in the near future. But let's get into the actual Series 8 recap here, starting with my favorite episodes of the series. Now, someone asked if I could rank all of the episodes, you know, from favorite to least favorite. And I could, but I don't really like doing that, to be completely honest. Because especially when you get in the middle ground, it's like, you know, having to hit little nitpicks as to decide, okay, well, this episode should be above this one should be below this one. I don't like doing that. It seems just a little bit too nitpicky in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is actually just discuss my favorite episodes and then my least favorite episode or episodes. I haven't completely decided yet. We'll figure it out when I get to it. But let's start with my favorite episodes, and I'll actually go from, I'll do my top 3. So basically I'll go number 3, number 2, and number 1 as far as Series 8 goes. And my number 3 is Last Christmas. Now, as I said in both the reaction video and the review for that, Last Christmas may very well be my favorite of the Christmas episodes that Doctor Who has done so far. It's definitely a very close rivalry with A Christmas Carol. Very close. In fact, A Christmas Carol may be a little bit higher than it on the ranking. It's hard to tell. It'll probably shift from time to time, but it's definitely top 2 to say the least. And yeah, I really enjoyed it overall. It does have some issues logically, and it kind of drops the ball on the whole dream crab invasion. But overall, it was really enjoyable, a great episode, and although it wasn't her finale episode, it would have been, the way they constructed it, it would have been a wonderful way for Clara to go out in the end. Personally, I'm glad they didn't, but it would have been, and just most everything else about that episode was just so well done, really enjoyable. I know people have issues with it, but for me, it is my 3rd favorite of Series 8. Now, my 2nd favorite is Mummy on the Orient Express, and that may not be a huge surprise to some people. Some may be wondering why it's not my number 1. Well, you'll find out in a minute. But Mummy on the Orient Express was, I would say, the first episode of the series, which, you know, I'll discuss in more detail my overall thoughts on the series a little bit later, but it was the first episode of the series where I just completely got invested. Like, just absolutely, completely got invested in the story, what was going on, and for me, it felt more like the way I would feel when I was watching a lot of the episodes in Russell T Davies' era of writing the show. Now, there have definitely been episodes throughout Moffat's era that have hit me the same way, but this is the first one that hit me that way for, again, Series 8. Just, it was the strongest by far up to that point. Which actually brings me to my number one favorite episode of Series 8, which is, of course, Flatline. Flatline, it took what Mummy on the Orient Express started and just built upon it, and it was just, in my opinion, it was stronger in so many ways. We got that feeling of that horror from the 2D monsters, or the boneless, that Moffat had been able to deliver in his one-offs, back during Russell T Davies' era, and a few here or there, in his era. But these were written by someone else entirely. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. It's Jamie something, or maybe James something. But yeah, I just absolutely adored the episode. It was really well done. Again, like any other episode, it had its quirks. It had a few issues here or there that bothered me, but overall, it was really enjoyable, and I liked it a lot. Definitely a strong number one in my opinion, and all three of those, like I said, were my absolute favorite of the series. A lot of other episodes were really good. They didn't, make this list, but again, I didn't want to be so nitpicky as to rank them all individually. That just seems... It's not silly if someone wants to do it, but for me, it feels silly to do that, especially when there's so many episodes I like, and even the ones that I dislike, it's like it's for particular reasons. I wouldn't call them worst, per se. But yeah, so yes, those are my top 3 favorite episodes of the series. So moving on, I guess you would say least favorite episode of Series 8. Actually, I would say it's probably the biggest misfire of the series so far, and it would be In the Forest of the Night. Now, leading up to the episode, there were a lot of people commenting, oh, it's called In the Forest of the Shite, and this and that. I didn't think it was a horrible episode. I honestly didn't. But I can commend the episode in that it was trying something different. I don't know if, there may be similar episodes in the classic era, and there's even a few that kind of approach a similar feeling from what I've experienced in, new Doctor Who. But, yeah, it's just like, they tried something different. They went for, some messages, and they tried out some ideas that, in theory, would work out excellently, but they weren't executed very well. And yeah, just in the end, it just wasn't handled as well as it could have been. And that's why it falls short for me. Like, it had a lot of promise, it had a lot of really good possibilities, but in the end, it just ended up disappointing, in my opinion. Now, there's some people that really do like the episode, and I can see the reasons why. Again, it's like, if they're able to look past the fact that it doesn't really feel like a Doctor Who episode, at least from my perspective. It doesn't really feel like a Doctor Who episode in its entirety, like almost like a spin-off episode in a sense. But yeah, it just it had good possibilities, but it was a misfire because it just wasn't executed properly for the show Doctor Who. Now, some compared it to, like, some say it should have been an episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, which I haven't watched those yet, but I don't really have a personal perspective on that. After I do watch Sarah Jane Adventures, I may have, I may agree with that statement. But for the time being, all I can say is it doesn't really feel like what is completely a Doctor Who episode. And of course, the kid actors weren't that good for the most part. Some were, most not. So yeah, the least favorite / just kind of a misfire episode is In the Forest of the Night. Now, moving on, before I get into my favorite parts of Series 8, I actually want to touch on my biggest issues, my biggest overall issues with Series 8. And there's actually 2, in my opinion. So yeah, obviously you'll be leaving some of your own issues, or reiterating some of the issues that you've stated before, but just hear me out. These are my 2 biggest issues with Series 8. The first of which is that the 12th Doctor's personality, his persona, is very un-user-friendly, or not user-friendly at all in many respects. And that doesn't mean I don't like the Doctor. Just overall, it felt like an issue to me. And again, I know that he gets compared to some of the classic Doctors from which the personality is kind of derived from. But just me, as someone who's only watched New Doctor Who, it's really off-putting and it's really hard to empathize with the character when, yes, things end up working out, and like, he just kind of abandons Clara, which, some people have argued he didn't really abandon Clara, he was right there, but the Doctor can't, well, or maybe he can, the Doctor can't, really see into the future. He can see events, but he doesn't know, like, each and every little detail of the future, like a fortune teller or something. So any of those times where he, abandoned Clara, or, abandoned anyone else in general, even though things might end up working out, we don't know that. The person doesn't know that, and although the Doctor may assume it'll work out, or he thinks he knows what to do to make it work out, he doesn't know for sure. Now, obviously, the writers are going to construct it in a way that's probably going to be predictable to a point, but at the same time, like, looking at it from a personal perspective, it's just like the way that the Doctor comes across in many respects, less so as we approach the end of the series. It's really hard to get a good feel for him, and we start to, or I know I started to understand his personality, understand where he was coming from more as the series went on, and even he, stated some of the reasons why he acts certain ways or he does certain things. And it makes complete sense, but especially at first, one of my biggest issues was, and it may be more for me than the series itself, was just that he was so not user-friendly that while it was definitely funny at times, it was also really irksome and annoying and just seemed like he didn't care at all. And again, that may come with that. I'm sure that comes with a personality, but at the same time, it's like, we're used to, or I'm used to Capaldi, Tennant, and Smith and the way their Doctors acted, so it took me a bit of an adjustment, to say the least. Now, my second biggest issue with Series 8 is that when it comes to Clara and Danny and their relationship, overall, their relationship was poorly written, or at the very least, poorly staged. Now, especially near the end, in the finale when Danny dies, and during the Christmas episode, we get the impression of how much Clara loved Danny, how much he meant to her, and how much she meant to him in certain segments. But throughout the rest of the series, it's hard to really get that feeling entirely, because almost the only times we ever see them they're not necessarily bickering per se, but things are stressful, things are really hectic, stuff that would put a major strain on any relationship. So, had we gotten to see more of their relationship during good times, had we gotten to see them go on a date that didn't go chaotically and absolutely horribly like that first date did, had we gotten to get a feel for how they are when they're together and they're not, one, talking about the Doctor, or two, arguing, or Clara's super stressed out because she's trying to balance her real life and Danny with the Doctor. It was just, again, because of the way it was written, because of the way it's portrayed to us, it's hard to really understand or believe that, the two characters are as in love as we're supposed to believe. Now, for me, the acting in the final 3 episodes, again, the finale 2-parter and the Christmas episode, the acting is done so well, in my opinion, that I believe that those characters had that connection, that love was really, truly there. And yeah, I think the guy that played Danny did a good job as well, especially in those final episodes. But as a whole, just as a typical viewer, you're not going to really get that. It's like, oh, that's a really awkward, quirky relationship. And then, admittedly, Danny does get, he uses some pretty controlling language when it comes to, them discussing the first time. The episode, The Caretaker, when he finds out about the doctor, telling Clara what she should do and this and that. It's like, that was definitely a bit off-putting. More for some than others. But, yeah, just overall, I wish that their relationship had been written better. I wish it had been staged better for us. Hell, I wish we had even gotten a mini-sode or two where, it was like, life with the Pawns or whatever, only in this case it's life with Clara and Danny. It's like, getting to see them go through enjoyable, fun times. Something like that. There'll be something weird going on in the background or whatever, but actually getting to experience the good sides of their relationship that we saw so very, very, very little of. So very little. In fact, I would say that the most good we saw in the relationship was during that dream sequence. During last Christmas, which, again, I believe that the happiness and the love was there, but they should have portrayed it to us earlier in the series, so that we would be able to completely appreciate and understand where they're coming from with this relationship. Again, just in my opinion. Let me know what you think about those issues and also any of your own. But wait until, obviously, I get through the positive parts, because there are definitely some positive parts, and I want you all to really get what I'm saying about this. So let's move on to my favorite parts of Series 8, starting with Missy. Disclaimer. The following section of the review is going to involve me talking about a few characters, and before I do that, I wanted to address some things that have come up in some of the comments lately, having to do with the topic of sexism. Now, if you're not completely familiar with what sexism is, this is the definition that I go by as to what it actually is. And there have been some comments identified not only by me, but also by some of the other commenters, some of the other viewers that have pointed out some of these comments to me. And my stance is this. I'm not going to tolerate sexist comments on this channel anymore. I want this channel to be a place where people can be, they can feel free to have discussions, to have, mindful discussions about different characters, different aspects of the show. However, when the discussions basically delve into, or a person's entire point is that, I don't like this character because she's a woman, then that's not an argument, that's just a sexist opinion. And I'm not singling anyone out here. I'll be completely honest, throughout my life especially, I have made sexist comments. I may have made sexist comments while I've been doing this video series and not realized it. But when I do those, and someone points them out to me, I do my best to basically try and readjust how I think about things, because my opinion of a character should not be determined by whether or not that character is a man or a woman, or even transsexual or otherwise. And, it may be no surprise that one of the major characters that this is focusing around is Missy, because Missy is the master. And one of the major reasons, or one of the major problems that people seem to have with this version of the master is that Missy is a woman, and the master has always been a man before. Now, if you have issues with the way the character is written, you don't find the character to be as effective as previous iterations of the master, that is a different thing entirely. That is someone's opinion, and that is them using their own experience. But when I see comments that say, Missy is not the real master because she's a woman, or now it's ruined the master because now people will always associate the master with a woman going forward, that is not okay. And I will, once again, I will not tolerate that on this channel anymore. And there are similar arguments made toward Clara, and I will touch on that in a little bit more detail during the actual review. But I did want to make it clear that sexist comments and sexism will not be tolerated on this channel. Now, I am not accusing anyone of, like, just being sexist or being, you know, they want to be sexist, they want to put women down. I would say that most people that make those kind of comments think that they're not sexist at all. But again, I have made sexist comments before. Does that make me a horrible sexist person? In my opinion, it doesn't. But for someone that doesn't know me, if the first thing they hear me say, or the first thing they read me say, is that I don't like this character because they're a woman, then what argument do I have for that person to say, oh, I'm not really a sexist? So, going forward, once more, those kind of comments will not be tolerated. They will be deleted, and if it happens frequently, the person may risk being blocked. I don't want to do that. Again, I want to encourage debate. I want to encourage lively discussion, but I will not encourage and I will not tolerate sexist behavior, racist behavior, and a lot of others that I just feel like as the human species in 2015, we need to move beyond. So yeah, there you go. There's the disclaimer. Time to go on with the review, and I hope you understand the points that I'm going to make. Thank you very much. Now, Missy is definitely a, to say the least, controversial character in the show, especially in Series 8. But in my opinion, the final reveal of her being the Master, you know, regardless of whether people guessed it, regardless of the fact that I guessed it, you know, as one of my top 3 theories, or basically it was my top theory, you know, the reveal itself was really well done. It's like, you know, Capaldi's acting, you know, during the reveal just, like, you know, really solidified the moment. But Michelle Gomez is absolutely amazing. She does a really good job with the character, you know, in her very brief appearances throughout the series, especially in the first few episodes, Deep Breath and Into the Dalek, I think it is? Yeah, Into the Dalek. And, you know, after that, it's like we just get sort of like little tiny momentary little snippets here or there. But especially once we finally get to see her in full form in the 2-part finale of Series 8, she did an amazing, amazing job. And in my opinion, I know people have seen the other classic Doctors, or I'm sorry, the classic Masters and all that, but in my opinion, she is the best Master that I have experienced so far. She is really manipulative and evil, and just in the way that Sims, I believe he was the other guy that played the Master, that Sims just didn't completely grasp, in my opinion. And, you know, all that really kind of boils down to writing in the end, but again, in my opinion, this Missy, or I'm sorry, this Master was the best. I may just refer to her as Missy because it's just easier for me, so I'll say it interchangeably. But, and one thing I do want to say is that, you know, despite the fact that the Master is a woman right now, that doesn't have any effect, in my personal opinion, on, you know, who the Master is. It's like, you know, this is the Master. She said herself that she is the Master. And I've heard from some of the other commenters, like, you know, the Master has, I think it's like stolen people's bodies to avoid regenerating or something like that. He has obtained additional regenerations. But, you know, the Master has done a lot of things to keep living on throughout his life. And it was established in series, was it series 7? Was it? Or maybe it was series 6, talking about the Corsair, which I referred to this, you know, back when we did find out about, or in my review for the series 8 finale. But it's established that Time Lords and Time Ladies do not necessarily stay one sex throughout their life. It's like, you know, during regenerations, they can turn into a man or a woman. You know, although the Master has been a man throughout all of his regenerations that we know of, you know, that we know of throughout, you know, Doctor Who history, there's no reason whatsoever why, you know, a woman couldn't play the Master. Just like, in my opinion, I don't see any reason why a woman couldn't play the Doctor at some point. Now, again, I know that's a controversial idea, and I know a lot of people that, you know, strongly say that are, you know, that are feminists that say they don't really even mind if the Doctor is never played by a woman. Like, you know, when it comes to a character who has always been a man, then, you know, in general, classically, it wouldn't really make sense to change them over to a woman. Even, you know, although, again, with the species of the Time Lords, or the people, the Time Lords and the Time Ladies, you know, they do not necessarily stay that one sex throughout their entire lifespan. But if, you know, if the people at BBC decide to keep the Doctor a man, then that's perfectly fine. If after Michelle Gomez is no longer the Master, if, you know, it's only guys that play the Master after that, that's fine. We got to experience a female Master, and I think that's amazing. I think that's absolutely excellent, because in the end, my opinion of this character boils down to my appreciation of her writing, Michelle Gomez's performance, and just the overall feeling that comes from watching the character on screen. And again, in my opinion, from what I've experienced so far, Missy is the best Master that I've experienced. So I don't know if that'll change in the future as I get into the classic era, and as the show goes on, any other people that may play the Master, one of them may become my, you know, favorite from there on. But it's hard to say. But as for right now, the reveal and just the character itself, Missy the Master, I absolutely loved it. And I have heard, yes, it has been kind of spoiled for me, that Missy is returning in Series 9, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what she'll do in the episodes to come, or whatever episode she may actually appear in. Now, my second favorite part of Series 8 is the Doctor, the 12th, the 12th Doctor. Peter Capaldi did an amazing job as the Doctor. Now again, although I mentioned before how, like, you know, he was very, he wasn't user-friendly as a character, you know, very brash, very off-putting at times, very antisocial. But just getting to experience this different kind of Doctor, and throughout the series coming to understand why he acts the way he does, or why this personality thinks the way that he does. You know, it was really good and really powerful throughout. Now, I will say the only time the Doctor really annoyed me was during the Robin Hood episode, Robot in Sherwood, I believe it is, or Sherwood, whatever. And somebody was bickering with Robin Hood, and that really annoyed me because I felt like it went on a little bit too long. But at the same time, I rewatched the episode again recently with Jill, because she hadn't seen the episode, and I really, really enjoyed it. You know, not as much as I enjoyed some of the others, but I found it a lot more funny upon second viewing and more enjoyable overall than I did before. So, just overall, I think Capaldi did an amazing job. He did a wonderful, wonderful job as the Doctor. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him in Series 9. And honestly, I really hope that Series 9 won't be his last. If Series 9 is his last, I will be really disappointed, because I think there is a lot that Capaldi has to offer us as the Doctor. Now, my third favorite part of Series 8, and this is also going to be a controversial opinion, I'm sure, is Clara. I thought that the way they fleshed out Clara as a character overall in this series was very well done. She had character flaws. She wasn't, you know, just, you know, she's seen by many in the previous series, or the second half of Series 7, as, you know, this character that's too perfect or whatever. But in this series, we get an idea that she is a flawed character, that she is someone who can be disliked, or some of her actions can be disliked overall. And it's like, you know, while at times not all of the actions, in my opinion, were written that well, it seemed like they were sort of building up the character to, you know, just act a certain way to advance the plot. It didn't seem completely natural. But overall, I really did feel that the character grew overall. It's like she definitely grew on me even more, you know, obviously to the point where she's one of my favorite parts of Series 8. And I actually want to address, some of the issues that some people have. Like, there's a few people that just flat out don't like Clara, and there's a lot of reasons, and some of which are understandable. There are people that really don't like Donna. In my opinion, Donna is one of my favorite characters of Doctor Who of all time. Definitely my favorite companion. There's people that really don't like Martha. There's people that really do like Martha, or at the very least appreciate Martha and what she did in the show, what the character did in the show. Midna, please stop rubbing her head on the camera cord, or the tripod. But overall, I have to say this, and it is something that bothered me to a degree. And let me put it this way. Okay, it's established in Deep Breath that both the Doctor and Clara have some very similar personality traits, like very similar. So similar to the point that they actually think that each other wrote the article to grab their attention, to get them to come to the restaurant. And it's like it kind of goes back and forth, and the Doctor keeps calling out about her being needy and selfish and that. But take a step back and look at it. Again, it's established that they're both very similar personalities. The main difference being that, to a degree, Clara has more empathy than the Doctor seems to, or at least, this iteration of the Doctor seems to. So, in many ways, the two characters have very similar pros and very similar cons. And there's a lot of people that really seem to love this Doctor. They will stand up for, what the Doctor says and does, but then berate what Clara says and does. Again, when they have very similar personalities. So, taking that into account, why is it that personality in the form of the Doctor is seen as a good thing, but that personality in the form of Clara is seen as a negative? Now, I know that, some people just refer to Clara as a bitch, and in my opinion, it's one thing to have an emotional reaction to, like, what Clara does at the beginning of Dark Water, when she, even though it's a dream sequence, she betrays the Doctor. I can understand having an emotional reaction to that, and it causing you to dislike the character. But just in general, there have been a lot of times where different commenters will mention that they just don't like Clara, like, they say she's a bitch, but not really giving any reason, when in the episodes, in my opinion, it's, what a person is considered, Clara being a bitch, is Clara standing up for herself, or Clara, standing up for what she believes in. Regardless of whether she's right or wrong, she's taking a stand. And the Doctor does that all the time too. The Doctor takes a stand. He gets in people's faces. But why doesn't the Doctor get called out on those things? Sometimes he does. But even when he does, it usually gets laughed off. So, yeah, there was... overall, I got off track there quite a bit, but... that's how that is how I honestly feel. That I love Clara, in this series especially, because she seems like a true, not just companion, but a true partner for the Doctor. They are true friends. That's why the Doctor, despite being betrayed, cares about her so much that he tries his best to help her out anyway in those final episodes. Because although some people apparently feel that the show becomes too, is it really Doctor Who or Dr. Clara, that the show has always, to a degree, been about the companions and their journeys. The show has focused on them a lot, in addition to the Doctor. And just because someone doesn't like the personality of a particular companion, in my opinion, doesn't give... It goes way over the line. Again, it's like when you have an emotional reaction and you get mad at a character, that's one thing. But when you just constantly, over and over, comment that, various people have said they hope Clara dies, that, that they hope she dies soon, or why won't you just die? It's like, it's been several people saying these things, And it really does drive me crazy. It honestly drives me up the wall. I'm really getting off topic because I was talking about the fact how Clara was one of my favorite parts. And that's definitely part of it. That she is such a strong character. Misunderstood, poorly written at times, sure. Mischaracterized at times, absolutely. But she's one of my favorite parts of this series because she has been one of the only, other than Donna maybe, no, all the companions have called the Doctor out on his crap at various points. So, you know, that's not really a valid point. But Clara is a strong character that I really do appreciate. Now, not everyone can agree with her stances, not everyone can agree with the way she treats people, but in my opinion, she's a unique character, and she's a character that I have truly come to appreciate, especially as she was fleshed out this series, even though one of the major plot points, her and Danny's relationship, was not well executed overall. So yes, yeah, there you go. Clara is my third favorite part of Series 8. Now my fourth and final, most absolute favorite part of Series 8, and there's so many things, but I was kind of going with characters, as you could tell, so I decided to go with another character. And my fourth favorite definitely has to be Rusty. Rusty the Dalek, Rusty the Renegade Dalek, who, yes, in the deleted scene, he goes out and blows himself up and destroys a bunch of Daleks, or destroys the ships and everything. But that was cut out, so it leaves me thinking that maybe, just maybe, Rusty might actually return for an episode one day. And I think that would be, in the right hands, done by the correct writer, I think an episode of the Doctor going on an adventure with a Dalek would be absolutely fantastic. I think it could be done really, really well. And just the way the character went back and forth. It's like, yes, it's like at first it's a good Dalek because of this leak malfunction, but it's what triggered those emotions in the Dalek in the first place, and what is brought back out, that it's just phenomenal, that it is possible for a Dalek to evolve in a sense, for its mind to evolve past its restraints, with some help, obviously, but it's still possible in the end, and I really, really like that in the end. So yeah, okay, so again, my four favorite parts of Series 8, character-wise, were Missy, the 12th Doctor, Clara, and Rusty. Now, let me know some of your own favorite parts of the series, because there's definitely plenty to choose from, whether they're characters or just specific events. You know, feel free to ramble on about it, and keep the negatives to a minimum, alright? Alright? Alright, we got an understanding, good. Okay, so from there, we're going to move on to some big questions that I have for Series 9 going forward. Now keep in mind, I haven't watched the trailers yet, although I have had, like, again, a few things spoiled for me, like Missy is in Series 8 to some degree. But my questions are, and I actually have two. Number one, what will be Clara's fate? Now, it honestly has reached a point where I don't know what they're going to do. Seemingly, like it seems like the only way the character can go out at this point is for her to die. Or, I don't know, something to happen to her. But overall, I kind of worry that her finale, her leaving of the show, won't quite match up to the way the way that they kind of sort of ended her run previously, both in the two-part finale and when she was when she was old Clara in Last Christmas. Those would have been amazing, really well done endings, and I hope that they can pick an ending that really lives up to what those could have been. I do worry again that, you know, they may just end up having her killed off. I really hope that's not the case. If that is the case, I hope they do it well. I hope they make it mean something and it's not just some meaningless, Clara's dead, moving on. I know some people that would probably appreciate that, but in my personal opinion, no, that I don't want that at all. I hope that whenever it happens, whether it's in this series or whenever, that it will be done well and it will do the character justice. Now, my second question about the upcoming series, and this one, I don't know, it probably won't be touched on at all, but could the Nether Sphere return? Will the Nether Sphere return? Yeah, I keep thinking Necrosphere at first, but it's Nether Sphere. Is there even the slightest chance it could return? Because like in Danny's last message, he said that it's collapsing or it's crumbling apart. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's gone, per se. It could still be out there in space. Like all the dead, not bodies, but you know, the dead people could be there, per se. It would just be like less of a metropolis and more of a wasteland almost. I don't know, it's like, I'm interested to see if they might go that direction. And part of me kind of hopes they do. I know some people might not really want that because it could mean that, you know, Danny might return and not everyone's a huge fan of Danny. But if they go that direction, and again, it's done well, I'm really interested to see what they might do with that. And I also want to see Seb return. I should have mentioned him in one of my favorite parts of Series 8. Seb was hilarious. Seb was awesome. And yes, he was played by a person who was apparently in the thick of it, and I forget the name of the other one, but you know, Capaldi's old show and movie where he plays the very vulgar Malcolm something. But yeah, I really loved Seb, and even though, you know, Missy disintegrated him, or destroyed him, he was an AI from what she was saying, so that doesn't necessarily mean he's dead. He's just kind of gone for the time being, so he could return for all we know, and I really hope he does, because I think he would be, even if he becomes a villain to some degree, I just think it would be great to have him on again. Absolutely. Yeah, and plus, I mean, considering they have a past together, I think it would be a lot of fun to see Capaldi and Seb, or I'm sorry, the 12th Doctor and Seb play off of each other in that way. So yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. So those are my questions, and moving on, just my overall thoughts on the season, or the series, sorry. I really liked it. It took a lot of growing on me, but even like, while it was still growing on me, it was so different that it caught my attention. Like, the way that this Doctor was acting was so different from the previous regenerations that I had experienced that it really caught my attention. You know, I may not have, you know, fully enjoyed the character to a particular degree because I was kind of, you know, off-put at times. But the character was so well done, and just the way he grew, the way Clara evolved throughout the series, despite the downfalls of the poorly written relationship. I really did like Series 8. It had some downfalls, it had some pretty significant, not so good episodes, but even then, that just depends on your perspective, because in my opinion, probably the weakest, again, would be In the Forest of the Night and A Robot of Sherwood. But even despite those, it's like, you know, in my opinion, it was a good series overall. And all the episodes were connected in different ways. Or it's like, you know, they were all connected to the finale and to an extent the Christmas episode in different ways. I really like that. And again, despite its faults, Series 8 was just really well done and may be one of my favorite of the 8 so far. You know, not necessarily number one, but up there for sure. Yeah, but yeah, at this point, except for, you know, doing my reaction videos for the trailers, we're caught up, people. I know, except for Classic Era, I'm not counting that right now, but I'm caught up with the show. This is the last catching up video that is going to happen until Series 9 starts. That's absolutely amazing, and it blows me away. Now, but before I close out, I do want to say, yes, I included the disclaimer earlier in the video because I really wanted to be serious about that part. And then I went even further in detail on Clara, more so than I intended to, actually. And I do hope that people will stay around and have good civil discussions in the comments. I am going to be more strict going forward, but I just really want this to be a community where people can feel free to express their opinions and not feel like they're being judged. But at the same time, I do have to judge things that are hurtful or make other people uncomfortable and not want to comment. So yeah, it's a really fine line. It's a hard one to walk. And if that's too much for some people to handle, I completely understand. And, you know, if you decide to leave the channel, I will be sad to see you go. But, again, I feel like I have to take a stand for certain things in my life, certain things that I experience. And when it comes to the topics of sexism and racism and some others, I have to take a stand and I have to say no more. So again, I really hope all of you all will continue with me on this show as we move forward. I hope that you'll enjoy some of the other shows that I'll have coming out soon. And I hope it wasn't too much of a downer, certain aspects of this Season 8 recap. But again, I did it in a way that I felt needed to be done. If you have any questions for me, please do send them my way. Just please, everyone, be respectful of each other. Be respectful of each other's views. But do not harass. Do not promote sexism. Do not promote racism. Do not promote any of those things that can hurt someone else. Because, again, I'm sure I say things all the time that I don't intend to be hurtful, but it may affect someone in a certain way. And I'll always do my best to do better. And that's just my perspective. And I hope you all will join me in doing your best, and us doing our best to do better. Because I love this community, I love what it's become, but I'm worried the direction that it might be going if certain actions continue. So yeah. Alright. Again, everyone, thank you very much for joining me on this journey of discovering Doctor Who. I'm definitely ready to get into the, get into the 9th series. And we also have the super secret 99th episode coming up, in addition to the reactions for the Series 9 trailers. So I hope you're looking forward to those. And in addition, coming very soon, I'm going to have a preview episode / episode 0 of my upcoming Discovering Steven Universe series coming out. I've already recorded it, so I don't think it'll come out before this. It'll probably come out shortly after, but I'll be covering the pilot episode for Steven Universe. And I really hope you all are looking forward to that, or if you like cartoons in general, that it's something that might interest you. But other than that, everyone, some quick announcements. If you're interested at all at checking out the Patreon and seeing what kind of incentives I might be offering, please do check out the link down below. Let me know what you think about it. I'm not I'm never going to not show videos for people, only show videos for the Patreons. That's never going to happen. The only difference is, some Patreons may get to see, certain episodes a little bit early if I get them uploaded early. But other than that, it's I just want the Patreon to be something that, people can contribute to if they really want to, and, experience some, fairly decent benefits, potentially. Again, only if you want to do that. And also, it's been down for frickin' ever, but the website will be coming back soon, PapaKennMedia.com, and there's going to be a lot of changes. I may actually do a complete redesign, so yeah, I hope you're looking forward to that near future, I swear. And then, again, I got the Discovering Steven Universe show coming up soon, and also, although I haven't started it yet, I'm going to begin working on Discovering Game of Thrones. So those are going to be 2 series you have to look forward to, and yes, once again, in case you weren't paying attention before, Discovering Doctor Who will continue with Series 9. Just won't be reacting to all the episodes. Sorry. But this has been a very long one. I hope you all enjoyed this Series 8 recap. I hope you didn't fall asleep. And I hope that we didn't lose too many or maybe any followers or subscribers because of the things I had to say. I know it's controversial, I know not everyone's going to like what I had to say, but I had to do it. So, until next time everyone, I'm PapaKenn. Alonzi! Oh, hello. Yes. I am recording. Away with you. Midna. Okay, fine. But, you know, before I get all nostalgic, oh,